What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin, and normally I wait until series recap videos to talk about a defensive or offensive performance from a single player, but sometimes the performance is just so good that we need an entire video to talk about it. And this week we are going to talk about Trevor Story because he's been so good lately. He has made history for the Red Sox and the MLB, not once, not twice, but 3 separate times. 2 for the Red Sox, 1 for the entirety of the MLB. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about Trevor Story's breakout success. We're obviously going to go over what history he made. And finally, we're going to go over what this means for the Red Sox, because this not only affects Trevor Story, but it also affects the rest of the team. But before I get into that, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys are hitting the like button on these videos as well. If you're newly subscribed or currently subscribed, liking these videos is the best way to help this channel out, and it means a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. Just to go over quickly, for those of you who do not know, Trevor Story has been an absolute animal at the plate in the first 2 games of this Mariners series, just tearing it up. In the first game alone, he had not 1, not 2, but 3 separate home runs and 7 RBIs. This made him the 3rd second baseman in Red Sox history to accomplish this, after Dustin Pedroia did it in 2010 and Bobby Doerr did it in 1950. In that same game, he also became the 1st second baseman in MLB history, the entirety of MLB, the entirety history of MLB, to have 3 home runs in a single game and steal a base. Because, oh yeah, I forgot to mention, in the same game where he hit 3 home runs, Trevor Story also looped a single into center field and then proceeded to steal third base. Pretty impressive stuff there. He also became the 3rd middle infielder ever to do that, with the 3 home runs and the 1 stolen base. But it's just a single game, right? Great games happen, but maybe it's just a fluke. Maybe something happened that game where he just blew up and then sort of simmered down. That's not the case, because in game 2, he decided to add to this monstrous stat line by hitting a grand slam in the 3rd inning. It just barely got over the monster. Also, shout out to Johnny Gomes for catching that. That's kind of pretty cool that he caught Trevor Story's first home run, and it's just Johnny Gomes. That's awesome. This celebration is also fantastic. Typical Johnny Gomes fashion. Love that guy. Anyways, that grand slam put him in the Red Sox books yet again, where he became the 2nd baseman in Red Sox history to hit 4 home runs in the span of 2 games, after Bobby Doerr yet again did it in 1950. Also, just a crazy year for Bobby Doerr. That's 2 different records that were set in 1950, and Trevor Story's in some pretty great company there. So in just 2 days, in 2 singular games, Trevor Story not only makes Red Sox history twice, but he also makes MLB history once. That's insane. And obviously this is a good thing to happen to the Red Sox, but there's more to be optimistic about for Trevor Story than just 2 good games. Because over the last week, Trevor Story has a stat line where he's hitting at a .320 average. He has a .452 on base percentage and a .960 slug. Over that same period, he has 5 home runs, a double, 4 stolen bases, 6 walks, and 12 runs batted in. This stat line is the Trevor Story everyone was expecting when he signed this massive deal with the Boston Red Sox. Obviously, yes, it's only 7 games, and it's a very small sample size and stuff can happen, but it's a reason to be optimistic about Trevor Story in this lineup. If Trevor Story can hit somewhere around this stat line the rest of the year, obviously it won't be .320 with 5 home runs every single week, but if he can hit around .260, .270 with 20 to 30 home runs for the entire season, that adds such a depth to this Red Sox lineup that I don't know if anyone else in the league can replicate. Just imagine being a starting pitcher in the MLB and having to go up against the Red Sox, where you're facing 2, 3, 4, and 5 of Devers, JD, Xander, Alex Verdugo, and now Trevor Story can be added to that list of guys who are really, really hard to get out right now. That is a menacing lineup to the opposing pitchers, and it's great news for the Boston Red Sox. We have been relying so long on the offensive production of Devers, JD, and Xander that we kind of forget that the other guys in this lineup are perennial all-stars too. Alex Verdugo, Kike Hernandez, now Trevor Story added into that mix. This is one of the most dynamic lineups in all of baseball. This not only affects Trevor Story, who, yes, he's going to be pretty much feared at the plate for a little bit now with that sort of outbreak that he had, but it also allows for the top 3 guys that we were talking about in front of him to have more offensive opportunities. When you're a starting pitcher and the Red Sox lineup has 3 guys that are hitting really, really well, and the rest of the lineup isn't hitting well at all, you can kind of work around those 3 guys and end up getting bigger outs from Verdugo, from Bobby, from JBJ, Vasquez, Kike, Story in the beginning, right? That was kind of what we saw. We saw some offensive production from those 3 guys, but then they'd get on base and the pitchers would just attack those bottom half of the order guys because they knew they could get those guys out. Now you add in Doogie, who's been a little bit hot, and Trevor Story, and now you can't really pitch around Devers, JD, or Martinez. You have to pitch to them because the guys coming up behind them can also do damage as well, so you don't want to put those guys on base. So all in all, this Trevor Story outbreak is not just a success for Trevor Story, who desperately needed it after such a shortened spring training and everything that came with it off the field, coupled with the fact that he's playing in one of the biggest baseball markets in America. He was getting booed a couple of weeks ago. This must be a huge weight lifted not only off of Trevor Story's shoulders, but the rest of the lineup as well. If this offense can continue playing like this for the rest of the year, I have a really good feeling about this. You should too. This should be very exciting for everyone. But let me know in the comment section down below what you think. What do you think of Trevor Story in these last couple of games? What do you think of Trevor Story in general? And how do you think this success affects the Red Sox in the long term, if at all? Let me know all your thoughts down below. As always, if you've made it to the end of these videos, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Like I said at the beginning, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys are hitting the like button on these videos as well if you haven't already too. Like I said in the beginning, again, this is the best way to help this channel out, and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the next one.